So here's a question for you. How can you be sure you're on the right path if the destination is somewhere no one's ever actually seen? And this isn't some new age problem, right? This is a question people have been wrestling with for ages. We're going to explore it through this amazing story from an ancient text that might just flip how you think about your own journey. Okay, so our story kicks off with two brilliant young students, and they're locked in this huge, passionate debate about the one true path to God. Convinced that they couldn't both be right, they decided to go to the top. They sought out the legendary teacher, Gautama the Buddha, to settle it once and for all. They were looking for a simple, you're right, he's wrong kind of answer. But what they got instead, well, it was a lesson that was about to tear down their entire worldview. All right, so let's meet our two debaters, Vasetta and Bharadvaja. As young Brahmins, they were pretty much the best and brightest of their generation, and they were arguing about the most important thing they could possibly imagine, the one single true path to unite with the divine creator, a being they called Brahma. Vaseshta was passionately arguing for his teacher, Pokarasati. At the same time, Bharadvaja was just as certain about his teacher, Taruga. But here's the real kicker, the crucial detail. Neither one of them was arguing from personal experience. This was all about tradition. It was a clash of beliefs that had been passed down from one generation to the next. So they lay out their whole argument for the Buddha, each one hoping he'll declare them the winner. But the Buddha does something they totally didn't expect. He doesn't pick a side. In fact, he completely ignores their teachers and instead asks this one single foundational question. And it's not about the path. It's about the destination itself. He turns to Vasetta and asks him, basically, hey, forget what you've been told for a second. Has any of the respected Brahmins, the guys who've mastered the holy texts, has any of them ever actually seen this Brahma you're trying to reach? And just like that, the entire conversation shifts from arguing about authority to demanding first-hand evidence. And Vasetta's answer is simple and honest. No, not a single one. And you can almost hear the first crack appearing in the foundation of everything they believe. But the Buddha keeps digging. He asks, okay, what about their teachers or their teachers' teachers? Let's go all the way back 7 generations deep. Has anyone in that entire lineage ever actually seen Brahma face to face? Again, the answer is just no. Now, think about what this really means. The entire chain of teaching they're relying on, this thing that stretches back for centuries, has no first-hand witness at its source. It's like they have a map to a place that no one in their entire lineage has ever actually visited. The Buddha just holds up a mirror to their own argument. He says, so, you're teaching a path to a place you don't know and that you've never seen. And when you hear it put that plainly, the whole thing starts to sound, well, pretty foolish. And to really drive this point home, the Buddha offers 3 powerful analogies that show just how foolish, as he puts it, this kind of talk really is. Let's walk through them. The first one is the string of blind men. This just perfectly captures the whole problem of secondhand knowledge, right? If the person at the very front of the line can't see, it doesn't matter how many people are holding on behind them. The entire group is just navigating in total darkness. The second analogy makes it even more personal. He says their desire to unite with Brahma is like a man who claims he's in love with the most beautiful woman in the whole country. But when you ask him about her, he can't tell you her name, her family, what she looks like, or even where she lives. It's just a passion for a complete abstraction. And the final analogy is maybe the most practical one. Their path is like building this huge, grand staircase to get up into a mansion with one tiny problem. You have no idea where the mansion is. You don't know if it's east or west, high or low. You could build the most incredible staircase in the world, but it would ultimately just lead nowhere. So after showing that their knowledge is basically baseless, the Buddha adds another whole layer to his argument. He shifts from asking, do you know the way, to an even more profound question. Are you even compatible with the destination? The Buddha lays out this really stark contrast. He asks Vaseha, you Brahmins have wives and wealth, right? Yes. But Brahma has no wives or wealth? Correct. He keeps going, you guys have minds sometimes full of anger? Yes. But Brahma's mind is free from anger? Yes. The conclusion is just unavoidable. How can 2 beings that are so fundamentally different in their very nature ever hope to become one? So now their old beliefs are in ruins. Vasetta and Bharadvaja are left with just one question. Then what is the way? And this is where the entire conversation pivots. The Buddha stops tearing down the flawed path and starts building a new one, a path based not on what you've been told to believe, but on your own inner transformation. The Buddha's path doesn't start with a map. It starts with clearing out your internal landscape. First, you get rid of what he calls the 5 hindrances, things like worldly desire, anger, laziness, worry, and doubt. But it's not just about removing the negative stuff. The next step is an active practice. You don't just sit around hoping for love and compassion to show up. You intentionally cultivate them and radiate them outwards to all beings in every direction. And this is not some passive, gentle feeling. The Buddha compares it to a mighty trumpeter whose call can be heard without any difficulty in all 4 directions. That's the goal, for your mind to radiate these positive states with that exact same kind of strength and reach. It's a practice that actively reshapes your inner world. So, how does this path of inner work actually connect back to the original goal of uniting with Brahma? Well, the Buddha returns to his compatibility test, but now he applies it to the person who has walked this new path. And suddenly, the solution becomes crystal clear. A person who has cultivated these qualities is now free from attachment, free from anger, pure in mind, and has mastered themselves. In doing so, they've come to mirror the exact same qualities of Brahma. The incompatibility, it's just vanished. Ultimately, he says, uniting with the divine or achieving any profound goal becomes totally possible. The key wasn't finding some secret map that was handed down by other people. The key was to transform yourself into a being that is already like the goal you're looking for. You don't just find the destination, you become a reflection of it. This ancient story leaves us with a very modern question, doesn't it? In our own lives, when we're chasing our goals, how much of our energy is spent searching for the perfect external map, the right strategy, the secret hack? And how much is spent on becoming the right kind of traveler? What if the surest way to reach any destination isn't about finding the path, but about becoming the kind of person who was always going to get there anyway?